Welcome into the PFF NFL Daily. Today discussing Jalen Hurts and the Philadelphia Eagles. Jalen Hurts is banged up, Sam, potentially missing 2 games with a shoulder injury here. He's not officially ruled out for Saturday, but it does seem likely. So let's discuss what this means. The Philadelphia Eagles are 13-1. It looks like, they obviously have the inside track, a 2-game lead to just get the number 1 seed in the bye. That is extremely important. They only need 1 win to officially clinch the NFC East. So things are going well for the Eagles, but a Jalen Hurts injury, what does this mean for them going forward?
First of all, it's funny how the news breaks. Like the way that people found out about this was essentially all of the lines, the betting lines started to swing wildly in a direction that didn't make any sense unless there was injury news related to basically Jalen Hurts. And then all
Wait,
of a sudden,
I thought those were my tweets. I was in the middle of tweeting about how I thought Patrick Mahomes was the MVP and Jalen Hurts shouldn't be the favorite. It should actually be Mahomes. And I had people sending tweets back like, "Hey, look, the line's already moving. Jalen Hurts is not favored anymore." But I guess it was his injury.
I don't think you move the line that much with your insight.
Yeah.
And that being said, the way your picks go this year, there might be reason for it to do that, just in the opposite direction that you mean it to. But yeah, so the line starts to move. All of a sudden, Jalen Hurts is injured. I forget who the player was, but somebody basically, giant 300-pounder landed on him, full body weight, smushed the shoulders into the turf, exactly the way you tend to sprain your shoulder in these types of games. I think really the thing that it does is, like, for Philadelphia, it doesn't really affect them at all, right? They haven't locked up the number 1 seed yet. They will, though. They need to win. They need to lose all of their games, and Minnesota needs to win all of theirs for that to flip. So I think they're going to lock up the number 1 seed regardless of what they do. But what it does is give us a fascinating case study for just how much Jalen Hurts is driving this thing, because people have made the case this year that, if you put Gardner Minshew in this offense, it would look just the same. They've got the number 1 offensive line in the league. They've got the number 1 run game, as if Hurts isn't like a big part of that, by the way. They've got these great receivers. You put Gardner Minshew in there, it looks exactly the same. Well, we're about to find out because that's apparently what's going to happen.
All right. There's a lot of nuance to all of that. So let's discuss. We have MVP voters out there who are saying, well, this is going to determine if Jalen Hurts is really the MVP. Let's see how they do without him. Which, by the way, I find ridiculous because the MVP is the most valuable player on the team. And I look at value as something that you add when you play. You can't add more value when you don't play. But a lot of people who look at the MVP as this like theoretical value award, like Jalen Hurts is going to win brownie points if Gardner Minshew doesn't perform well over the next couple weeks. So that's just the first thing. I find that ridiculous. Secondly, I think there's kernels of truth in all directions here, Sam. The first one being, I think A.J. Brown, I'm on record as saying A.J. Brown was the most important player of the last draft, of round 1 of draft night. The addition of him by the Eagles. Like, the Eagles have Jordan Davis on their team. He's doing nothing for them for most of the season. He's not making an impact. It's A.J. Brown who has made a massive impact for the Eagles. That part's true. The second part that is also true is Jalen Hurts is as much the catalyst for the system as anyone else, right? They've run this entire QB sneak package because of Jalen Hurts and the way because of his effectiveness running the ball, his toughness running the ball. He's had several games running the ball 15, 18 times in the game, and Gardner Minshew's not going to do that. That's Hurts. Yeah. That's Hurts' rushing ability, right? Either on keepers or on scrambles, just picking up positive plays when maybe there aren't plays there to be made. So I think both things are true. There's a really good supporting cast in Philadelphia, and Jalen Hurts is the catalyst for the run game, and he's playing at an extremely high level from a pass game perspective, decision-making perspective. He's played extremely well this year.
Yeah, the man has like 1,600 rushing yards and 23 rushing touchdowns in the last 2 years. Like, you can't just be like, you take him out, you put Gardner Minshew in, nothing changes. It's the same. Clearly, like, Jalen Hurts is a huge part of the number 1 rushing offense in the NFL. The things that will stay the same, the offensive line will still be immaculate. It will still be the best offensive line in the NFL. Now, it's going to get tested because it's going up against the best pass rush in the NFL in Dallas, but it's still a great offensive line. That's a great starting point. The receivers will still be the same. A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, they have a very good group of receivers. So Minshew is stepping into a very good situation, but Minshew does not bring to the table what Jalen Hurts brings to the table. So there will be some form of change to the offense, of adjustment, of probable decline because Minshew isn't as good as Jalen Hurts. So I just think it's a really interesting dynamic to give us an idea of, I keep thinking of that concept of like a credit pie. How big of a slice of the credit pie does Jalen Hurts get, right? Well, the element that I sort of disagree with you about when it comes to MVP is I think you're going to get a much more accurate reading of how big a slice of that pie Jalen Hurts deserves based off how Minshew was able to do.
DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL, is my go-to when betting on the NFL this holiday season. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 on any NFL team to win their game and get $150 in free bets if they do. Check it out. Right now, everyone can earn up to 100% boost with DraftKings stepped-up same-game parlays. You go to the DraftKings Sportsbook app, place a same-game parlay, and combine multiple bets like which team will win, player props, point totals, and more. The more legs you add, the bigger the boost, the bigger your shot to win big. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use code PFF. Place a $5 bet on any NFL team to win, and you'll get $150 in free bets if they do. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook with the code PFF. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for details. I agree with what you're saying, Sam, as far as like we'll understand the pie. I get that. I'm saying for the vote for MVP, when you look at the 2022 season and you are presented a vote for MVP, I interpret this as who added the most value to their team this year. You had 18 games to do that, right? And you're not Jalen Hurts will add zero value. If he doesn't play for the next 2 games, 3 games, will add zero value to the Philadelphia Eagles over the next 3 games from a value perspective in the MVP conversation. That's all I'm saying. Like it is very informative. Just like AJ Brown, we can look at Ryan Tannehill with and without AJ Brown. It's like night and day. Look at all of Tannehill's stats and Dolphins, and now this year with the Titans. Different quarterback with and without A.J. Brown, which is, by the way, coincided with Jalen Hurts and the Philadelphia Eagles offense taking off. I'm not saying it's all A.J. Brown, but I would say a lot of that credit pie goes to A.J. Brown and what wide receiver 1 alpha really does for your offense.
Right, but what it does is potentially change your interpretation of how big the slice has been for the last 15 games. You know what I mean? So he's not going to get anything. No credit pie for the next 2 weeks while he's sitting on his couch getting his shoulder better. But it might increase the slice that you're giving him for the first 15 games, which ultimately changes the whole output, over the course of a season. So that it's informative information when it comes to just what is driving one of the best offenses in the NFL.
All right, so one more thing I think we have to bring up here. I've mentioned on the PFF NFL podcast, maybe no team relies on their quarterback as a runner as much as the 2 teams we saw play last weekend, the Eagles and the Bears. So Jalen Hurts, Justin Fields, Lamar Jackson with Baltimore. And someone suggested we should throw Josh Allen in that equation because when they need a run, when they need a play, it is Josh Allen. We've talked about that quite a bit. So throw Josh Allen in there. 3 out of those 4 guys are hurt, though. Allen doesn't have the same volume of runs there as Fields, Hurts, and Lamar. Those 3 guys are more likely to have those 15 plus carry games. Not every week, but it's a lot of games. It's a lot of hits. And Hurts is good a lot of the time at getting down and not taking big hits. But last Sunday against the Bears, he's getting popped by linebackers. He's taking some hits. Can this thing be sustainable? As effective as the QB run game is, they're also all banged up right now. Hurts, Fields, and Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, and Josh Allen has hurt himself he had the elbow earlier in the year, and he's taken any number of hits that look like they should have caused damage. I think it's a tough balance. Like there is a reason that teams never wanted to expose their quarterbacks to hits before. Like you didn't want to run the quarterback because the guy's going to get cracked, and when he gets cracked, he's going to get hurt. I think it's just the inevitable conclusion of that. But quarterback running is like an offensive cheat code, right? So on the one hand, you've got our offense becomes virtually unstoppable when we tap into our quarterback as this incredible athlete and let him run the ball. It changes the defense. The gravitational effect of that on everything makes everything else more effective. On the other hand, he's going to get hurt at some point. Like he will eventually. It's going to happen. I mean, every running back in the NFL at some point gets hurt. Nobody is bulletproof. Derrick Henry went on this run of 3 or 4 years where he was the man of steel. And then Derrick Henry gets hurt. Like it happens to every single one of these players. It's almost impossible to avoid. So you have to, I don't know how you juggle that. Like on the positive side, we become so much better when we tap into this. On the negative side, it does increase the risk that this guy gets hurt. If he gets hurt and we have to turn to the backup, by and large, we're all sunk, right? Like with the exception of teams like San Francisco, like these few teams that are able to plug in pretty much anybody and get success. Any of these teams having to turn to their backup are basically screwed in terms of the Super Bowl. So I think that's a delicate balancing act, but particularly when you get this deep into the season, I think you're going to be much more willing to take the risk than you are, on a random game in August.
All right, so it looks like the Eagles, they will probably get the number 1 seed. Hurts will probably have a few weeks off, but he'll be back for the playoffs, and I think the Eagles will be okay because, hey, they're the best all-around team in the NFL. Get Hurts back there. He's been top 4, top 5 quarterback this year. He's been fantastic. Let us know, what do you think? How the Eagles going to do with and without Fields, without Hurts, sorry. It's PFF NFL Daily.